वेलकम टू मेन स्ट्रीम विद हरप्रीत सिंह तूर आप सब ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਆਦਾਬ ਐਂਡ ਸਲਾਮ sorry for having my phone handy in my hand right now because so many things are happening and it's just impossible to keep track of what's going on and what could be next. You know, there is you got to give a credit at least to US government that they had some kind of advance warnings and they were trying to protect whatever they can. What happened in Pennsylvania, but I'm going to share something very interesting which, and this is my actual conversation which I had with my kids. When they told me, when they first I got a message from my son telling me that president got shot, and I actually at that time was watching on the smartphone, and I heard that pop, 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 and to me it was like when you go out and you play with the paintball guns. And then I saw that and I said, no, this is more than that. But my reaction, which I want to share with you, my first reaction was that in 1972, in India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, even though 71 war made her very popular, but 72 was a totally different animal. It's like George Bush Senior, 91 he was at the top of the world, 92 he lost election. Same thing, Indira Gandhi was going through that election cycle, and during that election cycle somebody threw a stone at her and it hit her nose, and the rest of the season of the election she went out with that bandage on the nose and she ended up winning the election, even though later on she lost in Allahabad court and then she declared emergency. That's a different story, but staying with it, and that's what I thought, that maybe this is a stunt which is being played out. And then I saw that, and then I was like, no, there is something more to it. And after that, first thing which I came to my mind was Donald Trump's statement in 2015 when he said that he can shot dead somebody on Fifth Avenue and people will still vote for him. And after that, if during his tenure and even after that, if you look at it, he always talked about violence, always. Don't take me wrong that I am trying to take any side or anything, but I am trying to put the facts here in front of everybody. So, Virginia rally happened during Black Lives Matter. Somebody drove into the crowd. And then we had these white supremacists walking, and when he was asked about it, and his comments, you can check on Google, dig it out. His comments were, well, there were some good people in the crowd also. And then later on, 2020, he lost the election. He knew that he is going to lose the election way before election happened. But he was preparing how to not to admit, because he has grown by not admitting whatever he doesn't want to admit. So he refused to admit that he lost the election. So they tried to create the fake electorals, because ultimately those electorals are the people who elect the president, which they are already doing for 2024. In case he loses, just get ready for the roller coaster again. Okay? So, after that, what happened was January 6th, For him, those people were patriotics who actually attacked the Capitol Hill. He asked for hanging Vice President Mike Pence. People already had prepared that, the rope and with the noose to hang him. Josh Hawley can be seen running afraid from the floor, who later on came out and he said, well, those were patriotic people, da. So Trump was associating every movement of his campaign with the violence. And my other reaction was, while the authorities are trying to dig out the information on who this guy is, what his background is, blah, 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 I was like, God forbid, I hope that this is not a Democrat who shot at him. Just imagine, had it been a Democrat, what could have happened. Just imagine. Even though the guy was a Republican, still statements came out even before they found out who the guy was, including from Green, they are like, I honestly, I don't know how to put it down and where to say that this is the lowest point. They can go even lower than that, and they are doing it. And this is why when Joe Biden talks about that there is too much at stake in this election, this is what he is talking about. That as far as the bottom is concerned, for Republicans of today, there is no bottom. I always on this show, I say I don't like the policies of Mitch McConnell, but I love the guy. He was booed at RNC, even though he endorsed Trump based on his own terms and everything. So now we have J.D. Vance, a person as a vice president, J.D. Vance, who wrote a book, Hilly Valley, made millions, and condemned Trump, calling him Hitler, calling him everything, and then turning around when he was running for the U.S. Senate for his endorsement, and now he is a vice president pick. What made this whole thing to click? I don't know. Maybe Elon Musk, who is putting in $45 million a month into Trump's election. So we are looking at July, August, September, October, and November, 5 months. Close to $200 million Elon Musk is putting in to get Trump elected. And then on the other hand, we have this Project 2025, even though I downloaded it, I haven't gone through it, but America is being transformed into something which America is not about. And that is what is scary about this whole thing. Trump, second term, if it happens, right now based on the circumstances, what's going on, everything, everybody, all the pundits are looking at that, okay, he will be the president. I don't know yet. I'm not saying anything about it. Yes, Joe Biden's, debate really killed him. He should have thought about it before that. But coming down to that, so I don't know yet. Probably I will never know till the election takes place and the results come out. Maybe if I come to know anything before that, I will let you know. Like last time when he got elected, the election was on November 8th. On October 27th, my show right here, where I'm sitting right now, this is where I made a prediction with Bhaswati Bhattacharya, who was as a guest on my show that Trump is going to be the president when nobody believed it. And he became the president. And right now, yeah, US House, I have already said it will flip to Democrats. I still believe it will flip to Democrats. But this thing, what happened, has changed a lot of predictions. Some people are saying, he is a changed man after this. Some people are saying, God has ordained him. He is a chosen one by the God. He had one of those NFT going around where, the Jesus Christ, he's sitting with closed eyes, Jesus Christ with his hands on his shoulder, blessing Donald Trump. That is evangelical pushing Trump to be the president and then go after whosoever they think they can go after, and they believe me, they will. Okay, so this is the scenario for the Trump. RNC, actually Republican National Conference, opened up yesterday in Milwaukee, which Trump already called a dirty city, crime-filled, whatever, and that's where he is. And also earlier today, the cops over there, they shot somebody who was wielding a knife or carrying a knife. Whether he was threatening somebody or not, I don't know yet. But yeah, that's what it was. And now when we talk about RNC, and one more interesting thing happened at RNC, that is Ms. Dhillon from California, who is an attorney who tried to be the chairperson of the Republican National Committee, lost in the final round. She opened up RNC by doing an ardas, which is good, which actually shows our community, the Sikhs, that we are part and parcel of this country. We belong to this country as much as anybody. The fabric of this country is woven in such a way where in that tapestry we are in there. The Sikhs are in there. And that is something, which is good. And also more local here, Menendez, the senator from New Jersey, he has been found guilty of bribery, taking the money and the funds for providing whatever information he shared with the Egyptians and Turkey and some other Midwestern countries. We would know everything as we go along, that once the judgment comes out. But let us take a break. After the break, I will be right back. Welcome back to Mainstream, again with Harprit Singh Toor. Other interesting thing is there are so many things going on, sometimes even I myself lose track of what to discuss and what not to discuss, and what to share, what the information to share with you. Again, talking about Donald Trump, his case about those documents at Mar-a-Lago was thrown out by the judge, Cannon, Eileen Cannon. This is from day one, it appeared when she refused to recuse herself because she was too new for that kind of complicated case. And then it became more apparent when she started looking into that how the independent prosecutors are appointed and this and that. Even though the president was there, and that's the process, that's the procedure which everybody followed for more than 60, 70 years, she threw out the case. Now, what would happen? Jack Smith and Attorney General Garland is going to appeal that. There's no second opinion on that it will be appealed. But under the circumstances where Donald Trump got shot at, his followers and his, I call him like a cult figure, they are actually asking that every other charge against him must be dropped. What is interesting is that this gentleman, I will still call him a gentleman because that's the way I was brought up. He did everything which you are not supposed to do in a fair society, respecting everybody, including the females, doing the fair business. He did not do anything. He did not respect the women. He declared bankruptcies more than 4 times, more than $6 billion in bankruptcies, and people still call him a successful businessman. Why? I have no idea. And then on top of that, he is known rapist, if I may say so, divorcing one wife while he was still married, sleeping with the other one, still married, sleeping with the third one. And believe it or not, his current wife was also undocumented. She got her documents through Donald Trump. And he always talks about throwing out the undocumented, talking about throwing out the illegals, arresting them, putting them in the camps, throwing them out, How many times you have gone to a restaurant and tried to peek into the kitchen? Majority of the people who work in the kitchen, especially washing the dishes, setting up the tables, all that stuff, majority of them, they are undocumented because the people from here, whether those are whites or blacks or anybody, they do not want to do that job. Moreover, for the businesses who run those businesses, for them it is cheaper to have that labor because they don't fuss much about the rights and everything. So, when you look at all this going on, and then you look at where this country is going, what is happening? A country where everybody dreamed about, America is something. America is something. Now, America is being brought down. And I won't be surprised down the road after I'm gone, the history is written, and in that part of the history, they find out that America played a role in destroying Russia, and Vladimir Putin picked up Trump, a perfect guy who can win the election and still can be at whims of him and will do whatever he wants to do. Just look at Ukraine. Ukraine would have been history by now had Trump been the president. Just imagine what would happen if he, gets back into the White House. Thank God at least Europeans are putting their act together to help and assist Ukraine, but NATO countries are still no match as compared to the United States to do that. In the meantime, Russia has a population, a much bigger population as compared to Ukraine. Russia also has issue for looking for the soldiers, but Ukraine has much more serious issue looking for the soldiers. And And then there is another country, a very small country, Maldives. They are so much afraid of this whole thing because they have Ukrainians, Russians, Romanians, other people from there speaking more than 3 languages, almost everybody, including Russian and Ukrainian, and they are afraid. They are afraid that Russia will gobble it up again because it was part of that. Geopolitically, sometimes, when you look at these things, it's really mind-boggling. Why Ukraine is so important? Ukraine is so important because if Ukraine falls, then where would the Russia stop then? Then which will be the next country? So literally they have drawn a line in the sand that this is it. And like I have mentioned before, that Russia was one of the signatory to Ukrainian borders, that they will protect Ukraine's border, and look what. And in the meantime, Russia has now signed an agreement with Korea, and North Korea actually is now open to supply to Russia ammunition and stuff, and Russia will provide North Korea with the ballistic technology and improvement in the rocket science, which Russia is competitive with the United States when it comes down to that. So when you all look at all that going on, and China actually is helping indirectly to Russia, India, by buying oil cheaper at the cheaper price, helping Russian economy. I can understand that for India, it needs to have cheaper oil for their own population, which is more than China now. But at the same time, India actually could have played a much better role as far as I see it. If something happens between India and China, China already pushing on the border to India. And I already have said that, and I'm going to repeat myself here again, that 56-inch chest is not to be seen when China took parts of India, northern India. And you don't hear anything from the Prime Minister Modi's government about it, not a single comment. And on the other hand, China and their foreign minister, this was a very interesting read, that Chinese foreign minister made a statement that they are very much interested in improving relations with India, bilateral business and this and that. But the people who are really sitting on the top, they are reading into it. They are saying that, you know what, they want to improve the ties and the business, but they don't want to discuss anything as far as the border is concerned. And I was actually reading something very interesting also when it comes down to India, that there was a time when, during the partition of India between India and Pakistan, there was a time when Mr. Patel, the Home Minister, the first Home Minister, he offered Kashmir to Pakistan for getting Hyderabad ceding to India. And those people who don't know, they should know that Hyderabad was a state which actually was captured later on to include in India, because it was ruled by Nizam, a Muslim country, majority Muslim population at that time. He refused to accede to India. And when the conversations were taking place, at one point Patel offered that, okay, you can have Kashmir, we will keep the Hyderabad. See how the things change, how the things go historically. So when people talk about a lot of these things, they look at it, they have no idea what they are talking about. They need to look at history, historical facts before they get washed away with their emotions. And Punjabis are more emotional than anybody, that's my reading. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So when you look at all these geopolitical issues, then you look at what would happen if Trump becomes the president of the United States. He was already ready to, walk away from NATO, which means if he walks away from NATO minus US for Russia, it's nothing. Then, England has nuclear weapons, France has nuclear weapons, no doubt about it. But none of the other NATO country has it. So what could happen then? That is something which I would leave it right here to your imagination, that what could happen if America pulls out of NATO. So let us talk a little bit more about internationally. We know what happened in Britain. Conservatives got wiped out, the Labour came in, and we have a new prime minister in England. And in France, where the Olympics are starting, I think this week they are starting. The starting date of Olympics, let me just check while I'm here. Olympics 2024. They start on July 26 in France. So, Le Pen's extreme right party was really going to win, but then the other party, they consolidated and they looked at who had more votes from where, and they pulled out and supported the other candidate, and the final result was it was a mix. Le Pen did not get the majority, right wing did not get the majority. So what I'm trying to say here is there is a constant movement in the world where everything is being pushed to the right. I always say that it's like a pendulum. The left were pulling all the way to the left. The rights, they are all the way to the right. So within left, AOC comes, the squad comes to the left, all the way to the left. And on the right, you have almost every Republican now, everybody. There were some Republicans who were actually the Republicans in true sense, but they are not there anymore. Either they lost or they decided to walk away. Okay. Why I respect Liz Cheney? Her dad, who was vice president, again, I didn't like his policies. I didn't like the way a lot of things. But then again, they were typical Republican. We knew where they stand for. Now, the modern Republicans, they have no ground, if I might say. When they talk about, make America great again, or they are talking about putting up tariff on everything which comes to America. Who is going to pay for it? You and me. Don't get fooled by whatever they say. Okay? Inflation is going to go high again. Things are already expensive. When you talk about inflation and you talk about things being expensive, don't forget that a lot of the stuff which you are paying extra money, it is because the then President Donald Trump put up the tariff on the goods, Now, just look at this scenario. Where is the cheap labor? It was in China. Now it is India and Vietnam and Bangladesh and Philippines. Okay. So, labor intensive industry was shifted to China, to woo China away from Russia, make China what China is today. Once China became strong enough, they started walking away from China. But staying on the topic, with the cheap labor, the product, whatever was manufactured, whether those were shoes, your glasses, your iPhones, your smartphones, your clothes, you name it, the cars, the parts, the chips, and then they were shipped. They were cheaper this way than manufacturing in United States. And that's why lot of industry actually moved to those countries. Now, when you say, you are setting up the tariffs, so what you are actually doing is you are also not only making the things expensive for you and me, but you are also breaking away from Europe, because World Trade Organization was created with the sole aim of making the playing field level for all the countries. That's when, the borders started opening up, the trade grew, the things were manufactured at different places, different parts were manufactured at different places, then they were shipped, and at the other place they were put together and then made into a product, and the product came to the market. That will change. The last tariffs which were, even during the Biden administration, he has done a couple of things like that. The CHIP Act, I understand that United States wants to get back into the top-notch chip manufacturing. Some of the material which is used in wafers which are used to make the chips, that comes from China. Those are there is a name for those metals. So China is the only country right now which has more than 90% production. Okay, so now when you are talking about bringing everything here, you are talking about labor intensive jobs where higher wages, then higher cost of the products. Think about it. Number two, with those openings, the poverty in the world went down. Whether it was China, whether it was India, Vietnam, Thailand, Bangladesh, Pakistan, you name all those countries, Africa. As soon as they started putting up those barriers, the poverty started going up again in those countries. China right now, they have, while we are talking, they have their, those get together for 5-6 days, where after that they come out with the policies and decisions about it. Chinese economy is very much at the edge right now, but how Xi Jinping, the current president of China, is going to deal with it, I have no idea. And I did not even get the time to read about it. And that's another thing which I will share with you, but I'm not going to talk much about it, that because I'm running for a New York State Assembly seat, so my time is being divided between a lot of these things. Okay. So, having said that, all these things are going to add to your cost. Already Americans are paying. That trickle-down economics which Ronald Reagan talked about? What trickle down? The millionaires became billionaires, the billionaires became trillionaires, but those people who were in the middle or in the bottom, they went further down. And also look at the housing market, the rent and otherwise. This is my take on it. Okay? The big investment companies on Wall Street and in London and other places, they are actually gobbling up the houses. They buy the house, then they throw it out in the market with a much higher rent because they want to make money and they want to show to their shareholders that we are making money for you. In Spain, there was a town where this thing happened. The whole block, after block was owned by one of the company, I think it was Blackstone, till the people from that town, they decided that they are going to resist and they will not let it happen. So over here in the United States, when we talk about capitalistic society, we need to look at that, yes, capitalistic society is fine, but to what extent? Few people making lot of money or everybody having their fair share so that they can also have a good life and their kids can also look at a better future. How many, these people, they literally now control the countries. I just mentioned Elon Musk. When he says he is going to put in $45 million a month to get Trump re-elected, what do you think would happen? Who Trump is going to listen to? To you or me or to Musk? J.D. Vance became vice president. Why? Because Elon Musk spoke to him and told him that J.D. Vance should be the vice president. Tomorrow, it's going to be another demand. After that, it's going to be another demand. And soon, what would happen? The communities where you and I live, we will be stripped of our facilities, clean water, air. They don't care about the air because they don't need to. They live in the areas where the air quality is clean itself. Transportation, public transportation, the people who are living on the fringes of the society, providing them the help. I'm not talking about the people who abuse the system. I'm talking about the people who really need the help. I had a really good conversation about it yesterday with one of my friend who happens to be a Punjabi and very, very successful businessman right here in New York area. We had a long conversation on that. The people need to have, some kind of protection. They are going to come after your Social Security also. And you can make that point, you can note that point right now, that will be on the agenda also. Those are the things which we need to worry about. When we look at the Biden campaign, when we look at the Trump campaign, we look at the things promised and delivered, then we should be deciding what's going on. Yes, somebody tried to take his life. That's another interesting issue. This is really interesting. Democrats wanted to control who have the access to AR assault rifles. An AR assault rifle was used to shoot at Trump. And you know who is totally deafening silence, what they call? Republicans. Not a single word on that an assault weapon was used to assassinate their candidate to be the President of the United States, who may end up being the President of the United States, but they will not talk about these weapons. And I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today about, snipers, this and that. AR rifle is not for snipers. Okay? And thank God this guy was a Republican, not a Democrat. For me, I was looking into it that there probably is going to be already sort of like, if not a complete blood bath, then definitely there will be a lot of push and pull about assassination attempt. And every time the fingers, they were already getting pointed to the Biden and his administration. And now it will be more. And guess what? They were talking about, disbanding FBI, no CIA, no this, no that. Those were the people, FBI people, who actually put themselves in front of him when the shots were fired. And I literally, you can go and watch the video when he was surrounded from all the sides by FBI agents. There was one agent who saw an opening to his face. He put up his hand up so that his face is not in the target either. So think about it, look at it. Let us bring those temperatures down. Let us think what kind of country we want. Let us think about what we want the future should be, how our kids should grow up, what kind of atmosphere. Do we need the teachers walking into the classrooms with the guns, or we need the teachers who are not worried about that, they are worried about teaching the kids? Are we going to worry about everybody carrying a gun on themselves so that you don't know who is going to shoot who? I definitely don't want it. So think about it. I think this shooting gave us a chance to sit back, take a deep breath, relax, and think where we want to go as a nation. With that note, good night and good luck.